Om Jyo Shantihi Antariksham Shantihi Prithvi Shantihi Apa Shantihi Oshadaya Shantihi Vanaspataya Shantihi Vishve Deva Shantihi Brahma Shantihi Sarvam Shantihi Shantireva Shantihi Sama Shantireti Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om, may the peace of the earth, may peace be in the heaven, may peace be in the waters, the herbs and the plants, may peace be among the gods, may peace pervade the whole universe, may that peace be manifest in the hearts of all. Peace, peace, peace be unto us all. We had quite a little conflict of interest. Swami Sarvapriyananda was also doing his lecture on grace, so I changed the title to mine. It's now Good Fortune. But do we know what good fortune is? Good fortune, we all like it in our lives. We would love lots of it right now. Is it? But how do we define it? Is it the fulfillment of our desires? Is it getting everything that we want? Is it getting the answers to our prayers when we want those answers? I don't know. There are things we would like to have happen right now and God knows we're all praying for everything to go smoothly this next week. We would all like that prayer answered. We call this good fortune. We say, oh, I was so fortunate this happened. Do we count good fortune as the reward for past actions or for present austerities? If I do so much work, will I get the reward that I want? If I sit and do all my meditation at the right time, will the Lord answer my prayer and will I get enlightenment? That one I can say yes. But do we put forth the effort that we need to? And is good fortune, does it just happen? Do we earn it? Is it fate? How do we define it? Or is it basically the grace of God? We put forth the effort and the grace always is blowing. Oftentimes we have a feeling that we earn this, though. We do have a bargaining mentality a lot of the time. If I do so much work, I will get paid such and such a wage. If I make sure the house is clean and the dinner's on time, then there will be peace in the family. This is all, we do these little bargains with ourselves, with what we call fate, with God, with whatever universe power we're bargaining with. But often we do bargain. Many New Age religious leaders, mostly on television, promoted this kind of bargaining with God during the 80s. If you want it, just ask for it. If you want it, just tell them. Okay. The good part about that is it's positive, and it strikes you to often doing good things. Now, the bargaining part is not the good part. The action is the good part. Do we reap good fortune by doing good deeds? Well, every religion in the world says, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. As you sow, so you reap. The law of karma says every good action will produce a good result. Every bad action you must take the consequences of. So, is good fortune a reward for doing good deeds? It is and it isn't, I believe. I believe that we are told, do unto others as you would have them do unto you, in order to change our mindset, which in most people in the beginning is a selfish mindset. It's self-oriented. It's, I want this for myself. I want to be comfortable. I want to have my way. Now, if we are told by religion to think of the other person, put yourselves in their shoes. As the Indians said, walk 1 mile in their life. Walk 1 mile in their moccasins. Then you develop a greater mentality and an expansiveness of thinking of others as you think of yourself. This is not just doing good deeds. It's changing our whole entire mindset from one of small self-orientation to large self-orientation. Now, even recognizing the fact that this is a good thing is our good fortune or the grace of God, or the result of our past lives. They're all the same thing, basically. The grace of God, we're given the grace of God because of our past actions dictate what we are doing in this life. And the grace keeps flowing. As we keep growing, the grace grows greater. We have to make a distinction, though, of not dwelling on the past. Swami Prabhupada, my teacher, used to say, when people would say, oh, I just had my past life regression done, and I found out I was, and he said, oh my God. And he did say, oh my God, don't you have enough to deal with in this life? Well, of course we did. I mean, we've got our minds to deal with, we've got our bodies to deal with, we've got our egos to deal with. And believe me, it's more than enough. We don't need to know, as he said, everyone was either Cleopatra or a prince or Alexander the Great. He said no one was a worker in a field in the Middle Ages. Everyone was a prince or a courtier. So what we are, we'll just go on a mild diversion there. What we're doing when we start doing that kind of thing and dealing with past life regressions and all of these, they're interesting, but they're also weakening of your mind. You're letting your mind go into places that are finished, done. You don't need to know that anymore. As all religious leaders, and particularly Ramakrishna, said, go forward. Always go forward. Don't dwell on the past. Yes, we all make mistakes. Yes, we've all done things that were not the things that we're the proudest of. We've all done things where we behaved in a very selfish, very small-minded manner. But they're mistakes. They're not what makes your character. If you recognize them, you can change them. So the only thing we need to do is really look at them and say, ooh, that was less than my best. Way less than my best. I should not have, well, not should. I would rather that I had not reacted that way. I would rather that I had behaved in this way. Recognize how you would like to behave. I don't want to be short with that person and just do it. I want to take the time and listen to each person. And then we can start changing our behavior, but we must stay in the presence. We can't keep going in the present, not the presence. We have to do that too, but we have to stay in the present and go forward. There's a poem from the Gospel. It's out of the Narada Pancharatra. And it's, what need is there of penance if God is worshipped with love? What need is there of penance if God is not worshipped with love? What need is there of penance if God is seen within and without? What need is there of penance if God is not seen within and without? And I think if we look at this, we see that dwelling on our past mistakes, trying to do penance and make up for it, if we do not believe in God and love God, what good is it? We're just basically enforcing our ego, reinforcing our ego, dwelling on ourselves. And if we do love God and worship God with love and see God everywhere, then what need is there to look at our past mistakes? Because they're done. We have to go forward, and we have to affirm the positive and emphasize that. I know Vedanta has a great deal of emphasis on not this, neti, neti. And this is very, very important in the beginning. It is not something we are to stick with our entire lives. We are to look at the world and say, not this, not this, not this. As Sri Ramakrishna said, in the beginning, when a man reasons following the Vedantic method of not this, he realizes that Brahman is not living beings, not the universe, not the 24 cosmic principles. All these things, he become a dream to him. But then comes the affirmation of what has been denied. And he feels that God himself has become the universe and all living beings. This is what we're aiming for. We're not aiming to stop if this world is an illusion. It's Maya. We are aiming to go beyond that illusion and see that the Lord is everything, that there is nothing that is not divine. So we don't want to stop halfway there. There was a book that we used to have in the bookstore called Halfway Up the Mountain. I haven't seen it lately, but I did check it out when it was in the bookstore. And I thought it was really, really interesting because it discussed how often in the beginning of spiritual life we have certain experiences and we decide that those experiences are the ultimate end. Now we may have a little moment of the world ceases to exist. We may have a moment of complete absorption. We may even see a divine incarnation momentarily, just a hint. And we decide we have done it. That's called halfway up the mountain. As all of the religious leaders, and particularly, as I say, Ramakrishna and Holy Mother, Brahmananda, all of them, go forward, go deeper into the forest. There is no end to Brahman. Go forward. Don't stop. Don't think you have done it. That is once more our ego deciding that we're not quite done with Maya yet. Excuse me, I have a little more to do. I'm interested in this still. And how do we do this? Well, the more we fill our minds and hearts with God, the less room there is for the world. So how do you fill your heart and mind with God? Well, you do meditation, you do japa, you read holy books, you seek out holy company, you go on pilgrimage. Not right now, but when you can again. Actually, Zoom has helped a lot because it's kept a lot of us interactive during this time of isolation. And that is keeping holy company, seeing the like-minded people. I mean, we can see all of us here. I can see how many right now, faces that I would normally see in the temple, but it's even nice, I see people who are not even in this town, which makes it even a broader reach. We have so many things available to us now. This is what I consider the grace of God in COVID. I mean, I'm not a computer person at all, as anyone in the convent can tell you. I touch them and they seem to go haywire. But I find this absolutely a huge bonus. I mean, people who cannot go out and give, cannot go across the country. Swami Sarvadevananda, many of our monks and nuns have gone to our sub-centers. This is not possible physically. However, we can do it through Zoom. And people have been giving retreats with Zoom, that kind of thing. This is all a way to fill our hearts, our minds full of God talk, which the more we talk about that, the less we have to watch the news. And I'm finding the news extremely depressing right now, so I don't watch it at the moment. When you have thoughts that come up that are bothering you, we had a neighbor who, prior to the election, she said, "For Lent, I have given up news. Please don't tell me what's going on. Let's not discuss it. Don't say a word about it." And she came a couple weeks later and she said, "I'm so much more peaceful." And it's true. We decide how peaceful we want to be. We decide how content we want to be. We can fill our minds with all of these problems. And I'm not saying put your head in the sand and ignore it. We have to know what's going on. But we don't need to keep it in the front of our minds. We can use our discrimination and put God in the front of our mind. With our meditation, with our japa, with whatever with our prayers that we have memorized, we can do that. It's called sublimating the bad thoughts, desires, and feelings. Now, when you say it, it sounds, okay, this sounds pretty easy. Every time I think about how anxious and how worried I am about next week, what am I going to change that thought with? Actually, I'm not too worried about next week. I figure it'll just work out the way it's going to work out. And I hope the Lord knows what she's doing. Because it's the only one who can take care of it. But what do we do to ease our anxieties and our fears? Well, if you have a mantra, start saying japa, even if it's mechanical. Mechanical japa will become non-mechanical if you think about what you're saying. And replacing those anxieties and fears with the name of God changes your whole entire being. and your mindset. And it works. It's worked for sages throughout the centuries. It's worked in every religion. It works. It is a positive action we can take in this world with our behavior and change our being. Having this available to us is what I call good fortune. Now, many people don't know this is available, but having it available to us is our good karma, our good fortune. It's the grace of God. We have this available to us. What's the other way to sublimate and change actually to control our mind, to control our being? And when I say control, I don't mean sit on it and whip it into shape. I mean, gather it together and focus it. Gather it and focus it, our minds and our direction. And we've talked about this, I think, every single talk I give. Set a routine. It sounds so boring and so, really? We're going to go back to the routine again? Yes. You get up every morning, you go into the bathroom, you do your thing, you brush your teeth, you go out for a walk, you get a cup of coffee. Those are routine. That is a routine. That's a non-thinking routine. Mine is get up, make the coffee, drink the coffee, and then get on with life. Do your job and do your, but you set a routine that you do every day. Now, it may not last the same amount of time every day. It may be, as one of our, instead of saying cut short, we say truncated. But to do it every day is the main thing. Don't make it too aggressive when you first start your routine, because if you come at your mind and ego with all guns firing, they're going to go, okay, I've had that. I'm out of here. And you won't be able to keep the routine. Now, I remember one of our monks, in giving a lecture, he read or was told, well, just meditate, sit in the shrine for 10 minutes each morning. And he went, I can't do that. I can't sit for 10 minutes. And so he talked to himself and he thought, I can manage 2 minutes. And he did that when he first started meditating. He did 2 minutes a day in the morning. Now he's a monk of the order and he does way more than that. But he gently led his mind. He gently led himself into a lifetime practice. If we don't gently lead ourselves into it, often we will just reject it. We also have another problem that happens in how do we set the routine, it's not too aggressive, and we persevere with it. We do it, as this monk said, he said 2 minutes a day. He could do that. So he persevered and with patience got that way up to an hour or so a day in the morning. And it's only through practice. And Maharaj, Swami Brahmananda, said, practice, practice, practice. That's the only thing it's what gives success in all aspects of life, and particularly spiritual life. We practice, 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 and suddenly the grace comes or the good fortune comes, and we are experiencing things that we have not experienced before and know that this is the right path. But we have a few obstacles that come along, okay? We have lethargy. We have boredom. And COVID has brought out a lot of, shall we say, lazy habits. When they talk about people who've never gotten out of their sweats since COVID started, who have not, are living, not doing a routine, and they've just gone, okay, how do we overcome this lethargy, and how do we overcome boredom, what we call in Vedanta tamas, a very tamasic sense? We overcome it with action, and it's not easy. I was really deciding I needed a nap yesterday afternoon, and thank God Durga came in, and I said, what are you doing? And she said, I'm going to take a little walk. And I went, okay, I'm going to hold you back, but I'll walk up the hill too. And it's so much better to just, it takes an effort to do it, but every one of us makes efforts every day, and this is not a hard thing. It's a little effort. By the time I got back from the walk, I felt like 100% better, and I wasn't tired. In fact, I had a lot more energy. So we take action to overcome lethargy, or we engage rajas to overcome tamas. We don't want to stop at rajas. We want to get our routine going, and make sure that instead of all action, we take time to sit and meditate also. Because action without meditation creates a very unbalanced situation. It's like when they say, worship without discrimination creates an unbalanced situation also. If you do too much, if you practice bhakti yoga without jnana yoga, you can become a sentimentalist rather than a true lover of God. You must practice discrimination at the same time. They balance each other, two wings of the bird. And you must, if you tend to be an active person, make sure you sit down and meditate. They have to balance each other out. And how do we do this? What do we do right now with action? We don't have a lot that we can do, but we also want to think about other people and what we can do with them in this time. You can call someone that you know is not well. You can contact them by email. You can reach out to people. I just got a note from a friend that I've known since the second grade. And she's a very, very active person. She decided that she's an artist also. So she said, well, I just ordered 1,000 pounds of clay, and I'm cutting it into 5-pound blocks to give to the kids in the neighborhood so that they can make something while they're stuck at home. Now, we all can think of things, different things. That was her thing. But we can think of ways to reach out to people. And then we can recognize what good fortune is when it comes our way. And how do we recognize it? Most of us have plans. And we have planned our day. Now we set up a routine. And we want to keep that routine. But you don't want that routine to become a prison. You want to be available to the things that the divine offers also. Most of us plan our day. Oh, I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this. Some of us plan a whole week. Some have the whole year planned out. And many of us are thinking now, what can I do when COVID is over? Will it ever be over? And where am I going to go, and what am I going to do? And we're so busy with the plan that we can't see what's happening each day. This is part of staying in the present also. When our plans are thwarted, what's our first reaction? Anger. But I was planning on going. Fear. Oh my God, I'm never going to get to do that again. Frustration. Or acceptance. We all have a first reaction to when our plans are thwarted. And all those reactions point at how much our ego is attached to our desire and our small self-interest. Because our plan for our day may not be God's plan. I'm not, the two are not incongruous. To stick to your routine, but if there's an emergency or if something happens, be willing to accept it and see where it goes. Now with acceptance, which is the grace of God when we can accept it and not get angry, frustrated, fearful, it's the first step to peace and contentment in our minds. Like Holy Mother said, the whole world is our own, no one is a stranger, if we want peace of mind. Because the only thing we're surrendering is our falsely identified ego. The one that's identified with our mind, our body. And that one is the one that says we have to take care of this wonderful body and mind, which I must defend against everything because it's mine. But there is another reaction we can look at. When things happen and our plans are thwarted, we could look at it with anticipation. We could look at it as, I wonder what Divine Mother has in store for me now. We could look at all the thwarting of our plans like that. Keep our routine, but what good thing might come out of this? What have I not thought of that the Lord has? It's just something we can think about. Just another way of looking at ourselves, our reactions. Have we surrendered to the divine will? Can we really look at everything as a gift from the divine? As the breeze of grace that is constantly blowing. We keep our routine. That's called setting the sail. Keep your routine, do your duties. Not really as duties, though. That's the other part of the grace of God. We do those duties as wonderful chances to worship. Every single thing that we must do every day, if we can redirect it as I am worshiping my chosen ideal, doing this. Swami Prabhupada used to sweep the path because we have oak leaves. And he was 79 or something, 78 when I probably met him, 77, 78 when I met him. And I said, Swami, why are you doing this? I can do this. He says, no, I'm doing this for Maharaj. I don't want him to cut his feet on the oak leaves. Now, this was a 78-year-old man, congestive heart failure, had a massive heart attack, and he's still out there doing this for his guru. If we could do all of our actions in that same manner, we could have the same kind of love and peace of mind that he had. But we have to reach the point where we do accept the breaks in our routine, the things that we hadn't anticipated, things I sure didn't put that in my life, as gifts of God rather than punishments. Every single thing that happens is a gift. It may not seem like it at the time, but they are gifts of God. And this is what I call the grace of God. We all say it quite often. We say, there, but for the grace of God go I. We see people who are in much more unfortunate circumstances than we are, and we say, it's only by the grace of God that I'm not there. Now, do we just give that lip service, or do we believe it? Any one of us could be anywhere, at any time, in any circumstance. But if we truly, truly accept that God is everything, then what's not to like? And I think, let's anticipate what, instead of feeling frustrated, angry, or thwarted. And let's even go beyond just acceptance. Let's get to anticipating what the Lord has in store for us. And I think I'll stop there. If there are any questions or comments, it's good to see you all. Okay, then we'll end with a chant. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Filled with Brahman are the things we see. Filled with Brahman are the things we see not. From Brahman floweth all that is. From Brahman floweth all, yet Brahman remains unchanged. Om, peace, peace be unto us all. Now, next week, Pravrajika will be... 2 weeks. 31st Pravrajika will be here speaking on...
Learning from Holy Mother.
Learning from Holy Mother. So join us again with Zoom.